I thought I was crazy being depressed because I didn't know other people that were suffering depression like I did. So I didn't know the rules of being depressed.
There's no book on how to recognise, how to assist if there is a problem. It's happened and it's too late.
When somebody says they're depressed, what do you understand that as meaning? What's the symptoms?
I kept having thoughts about killing my favourite cat. That's how weird it was. My favourite cat, and it was devastating. Got to the point where I was scared that I was going to walk in my sleep into her room and kill her. So I went to the doctor crying and said that I was going nuts because I thought I was. And I told him what had been going on. He said, no, you're not nuts, you're just depressed.
And I couldn't go and take a deep breath. And I never saw the sun. The sun was never out. It didn't matter if it was middle or summer. To me, the sun was never out when I was depressed.
Seeking seclusion, not eating in a normal pattern, not interacting with people, ostracising people.
They don't talk things out with anybody that they've got troubles. They keep it to themselves, and as the saying is, a farmer can get on his motorbike and go down to the back of the farm and work away, and that's where a lot of times they take their life.
And I think we've all thought at some time or other, it's just too hard, death would be easier than this. And looked at that tree and thought I could just drive into that tree.
I used to wish that trees would fall on me and kill me. I used to wish cars would run off the road and take me out.
Yeah, well, yeah, but it's a thought that just pops into your head and you always think, oh, for goodness sake, pull your head in. I always tell myself, that's the funny thing because I don't want to be dead. But obviously there must be a part of me somewhere that thinks maybe it should be. I don't know.
It was through great control. I was very regimented in what I ate, what I wore. My whole life I did things very mechanically, and I think on the outside I probably came across as coping very well after Marcus's death. But in fact, underneath it all, my mind was totally obsessed with his death and with the depth of the loss and the absolute despair, just every day of that absolute despair.
Yeah, we sort of felt that we were back into the little eggshell and withdrew from a lot of things, and I think gave us time to perhaps, if I can use the expression, get back on our feet again, both mentally and physically.
But a lot of my family suffer from major depressive illness. And have been institutionalised, and so it's this Celtic melancholia. Somehow I've inherited my dad's genes on that one, so I've got this perverse reaction where the worse things get, the more cheerful I get.
Now I try to keep my depression to myself if I'm out and about and put my happy face on. Yeah.
Do you think that's a good thing?
Put the happy face on.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Actually, yeah, I was told that just smiling, just the act of smiling can actually make you feel happy. And that's true. If you smile enough, you do feel happier.
She had an area that she had to drive over a hill to get to her place in the country, and it was about 4 or 5 k's long, and she said that it was just once she got to the hill, it was her screaming time, and she used to scream all the way over the hill. So I thought, well, I'm not crazy. If I am, there's other crazy people out there like me.
I thought this is going to be a pretty bad time for me, so I just threw loads of seeds in the garden before I left, a lot of my veggies and things, so that when I came back I had this huge lot of stuff happening in the garden, lots of weeds too, of course, but it was something to get me outside and doing things.
That was the hardest part, just having the motivation to keep going. Because he's gone, but things carry on. The mail still keeps coming.
I think I gave up on myself, and I started to get sick, and I thought, good, I don't care if I'm sick and I die, yay, good, then the pain's going to go. But I didn't die. Instead, I went to hospital for about a week at a time.
And you kind of stuff it in the background. Although you think you're dealing with it, I was sort of dealing with it on the top, but I was still stuffing a lot behind. And when the kids left home, all the stuff I'd stuffed behind came up and kicked my backside. Yeah. And I got really, really depressed.
One's a bit shy and the other one's too outspoken, I know.
Yeah, we know.
Well, we'll hear from the shy one.
They would come up every weekend because they loved the farm, and Karen would say, he's grumpy, he won't talk to me. And we didn't sort of pick it up enough. But in the end, of course, 13 months into the marriage, Karen left, and that upset the apple cart. Owen, I'd had to take him to Nelson, to Noah too. He got locked in a room by himself and nobody could see him for about 3 weeks. All he wanted to do was kill himself. And I felt it wasn't a case of if, it was a case of when. Because he came home, they sent him home on a promise to the psychologist that he would come back on Monday for the weekend. I thought, how stupid are you? Anyway, I had to drive my car right up to the gun cupboard. He was a carpenter, he could have got in it, I'm sure, but to stop him even opening that cupboard while he was home. He got a knife one day. He always rang us and said, I've got a knife, I'm going to kill myself. This was one weekend. So this time I had to sign the paper and they had to go back to Nelson. It took a long time, but eventually he came back. But every time he rang up, I cringed. He was on a hunger strike. I haven't eaten, I can't go to work today. I haven't eaten for so many hours, and all this sort of stuff. He tried every trick in the book. In the very end, it was tough love. I said, well, that's not my fault, Owen. You get on with it. And he apparently rang his sister and said, oh, Mum doesn't love me anymore. But after that, he picked up.
That was movie material, that was. There was everything in there. Sex, violence. Dear. But no, not drug related. And my brother was just breaking into the house when the helicopter arrived in the paddock. And sounds funny at the moment, at the time it wasn't. And all these guys in black got out and they run across the back paddock from our house and up through the pines up to the cow shed. And I knew then that Shane was dead. You just think, well, that's not something you see every day, is it? No.
No, it's not.
And the saddest thing, I wouldn't have actually said that he had depression.
There was an incident where his ex-fiancée at that stage paraded the new boyfriend, and in a hotel, local hotel, on New Year's Eve. Couldn't have been worse, and we feel at that point, with a bit of alcohol on board, and it comes back to alcohol, he, according to his mates, quietly left the hotel.
Colin said, we'll go down to the depot again, because he was on sticks because he just had a hip replacement.
So I drove him down and he walked into the depot and walked all the way around the depot, and that's where he found him.
And here I found myself in the situation. I had my wife sitting out in the car waiting, and I'm on sticks, and on crutches, and I had to virtually, there was no easy way. I just had to go and tell her.
Is that you or me?
It's the bread maker.
Oh, it's the bread maker.
What was it?
Bread maker.
Oh, jeez.
I think the Hoggets going that's the only time that I'm aware that we have sold Hoggets, and that was just devastating because Ron and I had worked for years lifting the production and tightening the sheep breed up to how we wanted, and then to see your young stock go, that was a pretty hard day. I come from a family that's been challenged. My father was killed when I was 15. I had a brother commit suicide when I was 21. And Ron was with me through the suicide. And I think when you've learnt to dig deep, you know that you've got it in you. And it is a matter of battening down the hatches and digging deep again and finding the resolve to find some bright spots.
But people will walk across to the other side of the street rather than actually have to front or speak to you. So I just found it easier just to confront people, and once you they were fine because they knew that, that you could at least have a conversation.
We had one family we had very close ties with for a long time because they had two boys as well who were the same age as our boys, and we never saw them, and in fact they actively avoided us, which was very hard to take.
Yeah, I used to get extremely angry with people that would come up to me and say, "Oh, time's a great healer." I'd really want to turn around and whack them. I mean, time's a great healer. That's just rubbish.
I know you don't want to hear this, but it's going to get better. I mean, I could have just donged them on the head.
I didn't want to have medication because I'm a trained nurse, and I've worked in doctors' surgeries, and I know that people do get very dependent on these, and I felt that if I could, I would rather work through it.
When you're ready, you're going to find a way to help yourself. And for me, I just got sick of being sick.
Now I don't take any antidepressants. Just take vitamin V tablets. V?
V? What the hell's V? I've never heard of vitamin V.
Vitamin B tablets. When I remember to take them, that is.
GPs are really pivotal, and I send a lot of people back to the GP or to go and get counselling.
After Shane was killed, my mum pretty much made me go and see a counsellor, which was really helpful. But yeah, you only get funding for so long, and then you only get a set amount of appointments, and then it's all over. You have to pay for it yourself, and I couldn't afford to do that.
For people who are in the black hole of depression, have you got any advice for them?
Go and see your doctor and get counselling, because it's just such a horrible place to be in, and the sooner you can get out of it, the better.
If you can get your brain thinking about other things, then you think, oh, I didn't think about myself for half an hour or an hour.
Get your friends around, or try and get people coming in to see you.
Just have a cup of tea with me, just talk to me. And if I want to open up, I will. If I don't, let's talk about the weather.
And you look back and you think, wow, I have come a long way. I don't want to die. I want to live and live really well, and you can get to that point.
Have you individually or together considered suicide?
No.
Why?
We've got more to live for than we've got to die for.